Let's learn more about smart objects and smart filters. And we can start by showing you how to create a smart object. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go to File, and then we're going to go to Open, and we're going to go to the juana.jpg file that we've used many times before. I'm going to click Open. Now what we have here is we have a background layer. So we can unlock that, or we can just click on it, go to Layer, and then we can go to Smart Objects, Convert to Smart Object. And just like that, bam, this layer is now a smart object. We know it's a smart object by the way this layer looks. So I'm going to zoom way in on this layer, and you can see that this layer now has this icon right here on top of the thumbnail, and that means that this is a smart object. Okay, there is a different way to create a smart object if you're using raw files, and that is the best way to create smart objects because you're retaining all of the information from that file. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to open a different file. So I'm going to open File, and then I'm going to say File, Open. Then we're going to go to our class materials, and let's go to this file right here called camiskin.cr3. It's a raw file. When I click Open, Adobe Camera Raw opens. Now we're going to learn all about Adobe Camera Raw in the future. Don't worry about it right now. But what we need to do for this step is down here, instead of clicking Open, we want to open as object. So when I click that, this file is going to load in, and now we have this smart object. You can see here that the layer has that icon. It's a smart object. Now smart objects allow you to do all kinds of different manipulations to them. You can change the tonal values and the colors and rotate and make copies and all kinds of things. One thing you cannot do to smart objects, you can't manipulate the actual pixels. So you can't paint on them. You can't use the retouching tools like the healing brush, the clone tool, anything that modifies the actual pixels. You can't do that to a smart object mostly. There's some filters and things you can use for sure. So let's talk about why these are non-destructive, and they can be used in some instances as the best thing possible. So we're going to take this image here, this cami skin image, and I'm going to do a free transform, and I'm going to shrink her on the canvas here. So we've got this cami right here. Now I'm going to take this, and I'm going to hit Option Command, and I'm going to drag this, and I have made a copy. So I've just copied this layer, so we have a second copy. And this one, I'm going to take this free transform, so I hit Command T for free transform. I'm going to make it, I don't know, a little bit bigger and stick that right there. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make another copy right here, and I'm going to take this one and I'm going to make it like that, something like that. So I've got 3 different versions of Cami here. Now the cool thing is they're all versions of the same smart object. And so if I go here to any of these and I double click it, what's going to happen is Adobe Camera Raw opens again, and it's going to allow me to do manipulations on this image. Really cool. The exact same thing that I saw when I opened this. So I can go in, let's say we change the exposure. Let's make her a little bit blue. I don't know, we'll make it where she's super textury and maybe black and white. Okay, and then I'll say, okay, now watch what happens. So it goes through all of these smart objects. They're different sizes, different orientations. Bam, all 3 of them have been updated. Now, there's another thing I can do with a smart object that's really cool. Let's say, hey, I don't like these 3 being black and white. Again, I can double click. It's going to open this. I'm going to change this to monochrome to modern 4. I don't like that color temperature. That's really bad. Let's fix this. I'll say okay. And now, non-destructively, I've gone in and I've changed Cami twice. Now you can see that she's back to where she is. All 3 of those have been updated. But let's say that I want this little image right here. I want to add a filter to that. So I can go up to Filter. And remember, we need to be in 8 bits to do a lot of these filters. So I'm going to change this to a 8-bit mode. And now I'm going to go up to Filter once this smart object has been updated. It does take a little bit of processing power. So I'm going to go up to Filter, and then let's go to the filter gallery. And then for this one, let's do a sketch. And we'll do a halftone pattern. Now let's do something that's a little bit more, there we go. That's more noticeable. So that's been changed. I'm going to go over here to this copy right here. And I'm going to go in. I'm going to do a liquify filter. This is one of those times you can actually change the pixel values. So I'm going to make her a little bit smiley like that. Make her nose go down, make her eyes go up. So I'm liquefying her, make her chin really long. Okay, now I've made a caricature of Cami. Boom, I've got that. So these filters, normally when you apply a filter, whatever you've done to them, they're there forever. But these are smart filters. So if I go into, let's say, the filter gallery, I double click that. I can change this to torn paper and say, okay, that changes that. And so I can change the filter that I've used. I can change the values of that filter. I can change those smart objects. I can go all the way back to Adobe Camera Raw and work on those. I can do a lot of things to smart objects and smart filters, and it's totally non-destructive. It's something that's really useful. Now, there are some additional things that you can do with smart objects. And so if I go up to Layer and then go down to Smart Objects, you can see that I have all kinds of different things here that I can do. I can edit the contents. I can reset the transform. So let's say this Cami skin copy, this right here. I don't like that transform that I did. I could go to Smart Object. I'll say Reset Transform, and it's going to think about it. And then here we go. It does the render, and 1, 2, 3, there it is. So it goes all the way back to the very beginning, the original size. So we brought it in and shrunk it. So it took all those transformations away. It did keep the filter though. So we've got that really cool filter there. I can turn that on or off. You can see how these are non-destructive. So what I want you to do is after this session, open camiskin.crw or CR3, and then play with these smart filters and see what works and what doesn't and what is best. So after you've done that, we're going to come back to our next session and we're going to talk about something else that's very smart, and that is the Smart Sharpen tool.